Welcome back, my fellow degenerate watch addicts. Today let's take a look at a semi-accessible modern reinterpretation of the Seiko 62 Mas. This one is the SBDC101, which can also be referred to as the SPB143. I said that this is a semi-accessible watch because while it is cheaper than a true 62 Mas or a SLA, it still isn't cheap by any definition. MSRP is $1,200, but realistically this watch hovers around $800 to $1,000. You will see these watches pop up from time to time on the secondhand market at around $400 to $600. So at least the market is sensible enough to understand that this watch is nowhere near being actually worth the $1,000 ballpark. Here are the dimensions. I find them acceptable on both paper and in practice. The case proportions do a good job of spreading everything evenly across my wrist, and nothing gets in the way or feels unwieldy. For reference, here it is on my 7 3/4 inch wrist. Objectively speaking, it's a nice watch. It's very straightforward and has all of the components that one would reasonably expect from a dive watch. There's a 120-click unidirectional bezel, a sapphire crystal, a screw-down crown, and a screw-down caseback. The watch is also ISO rated to 200 meters. Lume is outstanding, as one would expect from a Seiko. You can expect the glow to last the duration of the night up until sunrise. The 6R35 movement powering this watch may be a point of contention for many, but without getting too deep into that topic, all I can say is I've never had any issues with mine, and I very much enjoy the 70 hours of power reserve I get from it. Personally, I find this watch somewhat boring, and I've never quite fully got on board with the 62 Mas obsession that everyone else seems to have. With that being said, when it comes to everyday watches, there is a certain beauty in boring, and to that end I think this watch does a good job at capturing that kind of appeal. The bezel and dial have a very subtle sunburst effect that you might not notice right away, but when you do it's hard not to appreciate. This is the kind of soft-spoken charm that Seiko has mastered, and is what gives this kind of boring design much more substance, and such an alluring appeal that only gets stronger over time. The case has a similar effect in that it's very simple, but it makes the most of what it has. There is a level of visual complexity that you get from the contrast of the polished beveled edges and the beautiful brushed surfaces everywhere else. The bezel operates smoothly and lines up just fine. The case shape and coined edge make it easy to access and use. One thing I noticed about Seiko bezels is how soft and buttery the action is. I don't think that's a good or bad thing, just something I noticed. Moving on to the crown, there's not much going on here, but I think it fits the overall theme of straightforward simplicity. I do like the circular brushing as it fits the finishing of the case sides. The threading is precise, making the crown action an enjoyable process. Everything here is solid. The caseback is your standard Prospex caseback. If you've seen enough of my Seiko fanboy videos, you'll know that this is my favorite thing ever. I personally think it's the best execution of combining art and utilitarian practicality. For the bracelet, as you can see, I've ditched the original 3-link bracelet because I knew right from the beginning that this retro razor was the perfect modification for this watch. With that said, the OEM bracelet is pretty uneventful, and I'm not even going to waste any time talking about it. This watch works really well with straight end links, which is super convenient. The good thing about this retro razor bracelet is that it's compatible with the original clasp also. I like these clasps a lot, and I'm glad I can still use it on an aftermarket bracelet. They're almost brutally simple and perfect for tool watches. Overall, I'm moderately happy with the SBDC101. It's not a watch I particularly look forward to wearing, but when I do, I enjoy the experience. Like I said before, I find it a little bit boring, which of course is purely subjective. Regardless of my thoughts, this watch has everything that one would look for in the standard definition of a good watch. Is it a good alternative to a $5,000 SLA? I think so, especially if you're mostly just a casual enthusiast that wants something close to the original. A several $1,000 Seiko is a really hard sell, and this version is more in line with the broader Seiko audience. But that's about all I have to say. If you made it this far, a like and subscribe are always appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.